Hi, it's me. I fight like a woman. Yes, I am bald-headed today. I decided not to put on a covering. Excuse me. Although, I'm going to do a video on head covering. Just wanted to post a video telling you I'm doing okay. The recovery from the third infusion's been rough. Really, really rough. But I've made it through the hard part, I think. Had a little breathing scare yesterday, but I think it was my asthma, not the chemo. So that's that. I have a friend who's going through a cancer journey as well. She has stomach cancer and she's going for her radiation treatments today. So please keep a good thought for her. Yeah, keep a good thought for her. And she's in my thoughts and prayers as well. And I'm not going to say your name, but I love you. You're going to be fine. You're going to kick cancer ass. Okay. So what should I make this video about? Just a question. I was just sitting here at the computer and decided to turn this on. Well, let's see. Let me tell you a little bit about the cancer journey. I was just talking to my friend who's going to her radiation treatment about it. And there's a lot of things that flow true for most people who go through this. And so this is mainly for the caregiver or the friend. So maybe you can understand a little bit better what happens. Okay. And this is my story. Edited story. Okay. Back in late October, early November, I was having breast pain. So it was so bad I decided, I need to do a BSE, breast self-exam. I looked in the mirror and my right breast looked different. And I thought, oh, crap. I need to go to the doctor. So I summoned up the courage and I went to the doctor. And I'd never seen this doctor before, so it was extra scary. But he came in and he looked and there was a palpable lump, very palpable. And he said, okay, you're going for a mammogram. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm 32 years old. I don't get a mammogram for 8 years, And he said, young women can get mammograms too. So I went to this very nice place where I still get treatment and had my mammogram. And they did an ultrasound the same day. Now, I had to wait for the results. And the radiologist came in. And he just placed his hand on my arm, and I'll never forget that. And he said, you need a biopsy. I was floored. I just kept saying, okay, thank you, hoping it would be over. And he gave me the details of the core biopsy. And he said they would call me with an appointment. And he told me they were concerned. And I said, well, is there a chance this isn't cancer? He said, yeah, of course there's a chance this isn't cancer. So I kept hoping, praying, reaching out to God that this wasn't. Well, anyway, I walked out of the room just saying, thank you, okay. And then they put me over to, they called the breast cancer, not the breast cancer advocate, the breast advocate out. They're like, come here. So she dragged me into her office. I think she could tell I was kind of like, and upset. So she gave me a booklet explaining everything that was going to happen to me. And she said she would be there to hold my hand for the biopsy, which made me feel a little bit better. So they had a biopsy, I think it was the next Wednesday. So I went in, and this is a vacuum assisted biopsy. And I'll tell you what it's like. And in the meantime, just to let you know, cancer was on the brain. So I was like, cancer, cancer, cancer. Oh my God, what if this is cancer? Oh my God, am I going to die? And then part of me was like, no, this can't be cancer. No, I'm young, I have that on my side. And I kept praying to God that it wasn't cancer. And anyway, so went in for my biopsy. They had this room all sterile, and then the machine. They had me lay on the bed, and they put a thing under me, so I had to stretch out like this, and a wedge, so I was in the proper position for them to jab me. The doctor came in, had a great sense of humor, thankfully, and they numbed me. The numbing part hurt for the biopsy, but the actual biopsy didn't hurt. But the numbing stuff wears off quick with me. But luckily we got through the biopsy before it did. So they took 6 samples, and they had me sign a form, and I actually signed my maiden name because I was so nervous and out of it. So I had to cross it out and write my legal name. And after that, they sent me on my way and said I'd get a call within the next couple of days. Those next couple of days were a fracking nightmare. I was worried. I was like, I'd go through periods of terror, thinking I have cancer, and then periods where I feel okay. So 2 days later, I was at work. I knew I was going to get a phone call, and I was really busy at work that day because I have a high-stress job, taking care of other people. So I was away from my desk when I got the call on my cell. I came back. I saw that I got a call. And my first thought was, okay, I need to call him back. So I called back and they put me on hold. I finally get to a place where I'm feeling, okay, good chance this isn't cancer. Good chance. Only 20% of biopsies turn out to be cancer. And I was young, so I held. And he comes on the phone and says, unfortunately, it came back as cancer. And I tried to stay calm because I was on the phone. And I asked questions. And I was like, what kind of cancer is this? Can I get some details? And he just told me it's ductal and that I was going to go see a surgeon after Thanksgiving, which would have been 2 weeks. And I was like, no, I can't do that. So I was like, okay, fine, you can't give me any details. Thank you, goodbye. And the moment I hung up my cell phone, I started crying. I felt myself falling to the floor. And I don't know what it was. Somebody was watching over me because our corporate trainer came out of the floor I worked on at that time. She saw me. She ran up and put her arms around me. Says, what's wrong? I'm like, I have breast cancer. And she just held me for a second and said, do you want to go upstairs? So I went upstairs. I ended up in the HR office with the head of HR. And she was just sitting there looking at me and they offered me water and tissues. Like, can we call someone? So I then called my mom. I didn't want them calling my husband at work. I didn't want to say to him, I have cancer when he's at work. I didn't want to say it at all. But anyway, my mom came and got me and brought me home. And I was a mess. I was worried about my job and everything. Because I hadn't been there a year, so I wouldn't get FMLA and all that. So I was a mess. So I came home, I called the breast advocate, and she gave me some other phone numbers because there's breast health navigators there. And I called her, and then she called me back, and she actually gave me information about my cancer, and she's like, yes, you have intraductal carcinoma. It's she told me that. And, you know, she was very positive. She told me, you're probably going to have surgery, maybe chemo, maybe radiation. And she gave me a lot of good information. In the meantime, I texted my husband. I said, honey, come home. Honey, you can. Or did I call him? Not, oh, I did. I called him. And I said, honey, come home, you know, when you can. And he's like, what's wrong? And he knew at that point. So I was just like, I have cancer. So he came home quick after that. But, so we have that. Sorry, it's a really hard story to tell. Anyway. So, I was freaking out about having to wait to see the surgeon because I couldn't learn any more details without the surgeon. So I ended up calling the surgeon's office in tears. And I told the receptionist what happened. I'm like, they told me I have cancer today. And they told me I can't see the doctor until after Thanksgiving. I can't do that. So they got me in before Thanksgiving. That week, actually. Or the next week, the following Tuesday or something. So I'll always remember that lady. I don't remember her name, but she was a lifesaver. Okay. This is going to be a long video, so bear with me because I'm telling my whole story. Okay. Go to the surgeon's office. One thing about when you have cancer, especially when you're first diagnosed, for some reason the doctors like to touch you. It'd be really nice. So I went in. My husband was with me. The nurse navigator showed up for the appointment to give me copies of everything, all my test results. So yeah, that's one thing you should always remember. Bring a notebook and get copies of all your tests. And I've actually fallen behind on that. So I need to catch up on that when I go Wednesday. Anyway, so went to the surgeon. And I don't quite remember everything. But, excuse me. He walked up, stood next to me, put his hand on me, opened a book and said, you have the kind of cancer that people, if you have that cancer, this is the cancer to have. And he told me I had what's called DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, which meant it hadn't spread. So this was good news. I was so excited. And he's like, you know, you're going to need either a mastectomy or a lumpectomy with radiation. And by the way, I think my ER/PR tests were back, and I was ER and PR positive, which is estrogen receptor and progesterone receptor positive. And what that means is there's receptors on those cancer cells, and when there's estrogen or progesterone flying around in your body, it makes the cancer grow faster. So that's what that is. So I was ER/PR positive, which sucked. But he told me it was a good thing because they could treat it. They could treat it with tamoxifen. Sorry about that. I could treat it with tamoxifen for 5 years. Fun. And in all this, my husband and I were planning on trying for a baby this year. So my main concern at that point was like, can I still have a baby? They're like, yeah, you still have a baby, no problem. You're great. And we're going to send you over, we need to get you an MRI. Yay. And we're going to put you on schedule for surgery for next week as they move fast. And here I am, like, kind of numbed by it all. And then they said, we're going to give you a consult with a plastic surgeon. So I was out there, I waited, got all my appointments. Saw the radiologist that day. The radiological oncologist sent me right down. Things move fast when someone has cancer. And it's a lot of information coming at them at once. And it is terribly frightening. So I went down, saw the radiological oncologist, and they showed me a video about the place I'm at, and I was sitting there with my husband, and he was, you know, being consoling and everything. And part of the video, they were like, we have slightly used prostheses and wigs available. And I started bawling about the video, and my husband says to me, don't worry, honey, we'll get you a new prosthesis. I love my husband. So the radiological oncologist came in. he explained the way things work. Radiation every day, Monday through Friday, if I got the lumpectomy. Oh, and for the first appointments, they're going to ask you why you're there. Every single first appointment, they ask me why. Get that. And I was always like, I have cancer and I'm here for treatment. I think they do that because the shock of it all. They're just trying to monitor you, make sure you're still there, but it was very annoying. So got that consult. And one thing I found, I've been trying to have a sense of humor throughout it all, and people pause when you try to joke about cancer. Like when I was at the radiologist, I was like, will I get superpowers? And he paused for a moment, and then he laughed. He's like, no, we haven't perfected that yet. But anyway, finished up with the radiological oncologist, met with the plastic surgeon, and I had a lot of big decisions to make, so throw on it going through mastectomy, double mastectomy, lumpectomy, radiation, what do I do? Am I going, all that. I'm at home resting that afternoon, and I get a call from the breast surgeon. And he says, so sorry, Jamie, I made a mistake. It's not DCIS, it's LCIS. I was going to whatever. I'm sorry, I'm chemo brain. But anyway, it's invasive. So, yeah, there's a good chance you're going to need chemotherapy. And we're still waiting on the HER2 results. So, HER2/neu is a receptor that's on some cells, not just cancer cells. It's on some cells. And what happens is, with those cells, if you have those receptors, growth hormone will accelerate the growth of your cancer. Okay. Long story short, I am HER2/neu positive, so I'm triple positive. So that's that. I'm getting a special treatment for the HER2/neu. Anyway, so I bawled when he called and gave me that news that it's not the easy kind, it's the hard kind. So I went in, had my MRI, which isn't too bad. You have to lay on your stomach, which is the worst part of it. And they inject dye into you, which gave me massive heartburn. And I kept bumping my head on the MRI machine because I kept moving my head up. Anyway, got that done. I finished up. I said, did you see the cancer? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, fudge. So I went home. And then, okay, I'm at home. I went to work the next day. I get a call telling me I'm scheduled for another biopsy. 2 biopsies. I'm like, I'm scheduled for 2 biopsies. What happened? The surgeon was supposed to get a hold of me before then to tell me I needed 2 biopsies. Nice, huh? Anyway, so I needed 2 more biopsies. They found something in the other breast, and they're concerned about the lymph nodes. I was not feeling good that day. Excuse me. I was not feeling good that day. But I finished my day, went home, and then I went for my 2 biopsies, which they scheduled right away. I went in, and they laid me up, like they did the last time, and they were concerned about a lymph node under here, another spot on the breast. Well, this other radiologist came in. He was really nice, and he said, okay, I looked at the MRI. I'm not worried about the other breast. Ow. It just looks like regular tissue to me. I'm not biopsying it. And then he looked at the lymph nodes. He's like, okay, I'm concerned about those, so I'm going to test this lymph node. So I went through 1 biopsy, not 2. Best news I had that far. And he finished up, and I kind of looked at him. I said, doctor, is there any chance this is not cancer in my lymph node? He said, no, it's cancer in your lymph node. What that meant is chemotherapy. I was devastated. So now, At this point, I knew I was going to have surgery, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, and quite possibly radiation. So I went back to the breast surgeon. The breast surgeon says to me, no, we're going to do chemo first. This is aggressive. It's fast growing. We're doing chemo first. There's no reason to wait for surgery. I was terrified, and I'm like, okay. He's like, okay, we could put the port in today or Monday, or tomorrow or Monday. Monday was my birthday. My husband was going out of town on business that weekend, so he wouldn't be there for it. Well, he'd have to miss his business trip. Or I could have it on Monday, and we'd start chemo that week. Wow, things move fast when you have cancer. So I made the decision to have the port put in on my birthday. Fun. And then 2 days later, I started chemotherapy. Now, port placement. It's surgery, but you are knocked out. You're in what's called conscious sedation or twilight sleep. I don't remember anything from the actual procedure. This is how it works. They cut a hole. Oh, wrong side. They cut a hole in here above your heart. Well, actually, not above your heart. It has to be on the opposite side of the cancer. So my cancer's here, my port's here. So they made an opening, and they thread a catheter into the vessel that goes into your heart. So it dissipates the chemotherapy faster so it doesn't hurt your veins. Certain types of chemotherapy need a port like mine. Other types do not. Okay. And then he made a second incision here because my ribs are really closed off, so he had to thread it down my neck and all that. But anyway, it sucked. I woke up, my throat hurt. I felt like crap for days, but I will say this. I am so happy with my port. I love my port. It's so easy. I put my Amla cream on and numb it. They jab me. Don't have to find a vein or anything. So I say go for the port if it's offered to you. To people who are going through this journey, the port is worth it. Because chemotherapy, the way it works is if they're going to use your veins, let me see if I'm remembering this right. They have to start high and then go low. But eventually your veins could be shot. And what are you going to do when you have to have blood draws and stuff after? Not worth it. But I have my port. Probably will have it for a year. 2 days later, chemotherapy. I remember my consult with the with the oncologist. And she was like, I asked her, what drugs are you going to give me? And she's like, I was like, do you know what drugs you're going to give me? She's like, I certainly hope I know. But she was the nicest oncologist I had met so far. She didn't touch me. But she did say, this is a nightmare, and I know your life is taking a different track now. And I know it's hard. So she sympathized with me. Anyway, they put me on a chemotherapy called TCH. T stands for Taxotere, C for carboplatin, and H for Herceptin. Taxotere and carboplatin are the chemo drugs that attack everything. They are why I do not have hair. Okay. And Herceptin is a monoclonal antibody that attacks the HER2 receptors. Okay. So this is what it was like to get chemotherapy for the first time. I went in. They took my vitals, took my blood. I went back, saw the doctor. Doctor told me I was getting TCH. I was like, oh, thank God I'm not getting ambidextrine. That's the red devil. And he was like, okay, yeah, it's pretty crappy. And he's like, instead we're giving you the white devil. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm just kidding. So they sent me out, and I got into the chair. The way the chemo room is, not the chemo room, infusion room, is they have a whole bunch of recliners around a big room. Okay. So and I get a ticket. It's orange, but I always call it my golden ticket. And it's marked long infusion. I hand it to the nurse. She accesses my port and everything. I totally screwed up on the Amla cream the first time. They had to use this freezy stuff to numb me, but they did. I was crying. And they brought me this huge bag. Do I still have the bag? Yes, I do. They brought me this huge bag of information. on all the chemo I was having, like the Taxotere and the carboplatin and the Herceptin, and they were going over the side effects with me, and I knew this stuff could kill me, so I started bawling. At that point, they said I can have Ativan, which is really cool. But yeah, see, books. Are you ready for chemotherapy? Resounding no. This was for the Neulasta. But anyway, I went in. They accessed my port. They put a little sign on my IV stand that said, "First time chemotherapy." I was special. They were going to keep a close eye on me. So, and they started everything really slow. So a half-hour infusion would be an hour and a half. So they start you slow to make sure there's no bad reaction. So don't worry if you're going in for chemo. Once I had my Ativan, I was happy. And they also gave me a bunch of other pre-meds. I get a steroid, and I get Tylenol, and I get Benadryl. So I was laid back, finally relaxed. Got drug 1, drug 2, drug 3. They thought I was having a reaction to, I think it was the Taxotere, so they slowed it down, but I didn't, and then they sped it up. So, relaxed. Went home. Felt pretty crappy, but I was still okay. I thought it was more from the port insertion, honestly. Next day, you have to wait about 24 hours. And not all chemotherapies get this. Mine does because it kicks my bone marrow's butt. But anyway, you go in 24 hours after and you get a Neulasta shot, which it hurts like a bee sting when it's given to you, and I've only felt that once. But yeah, you get one of those the next day to boost your blood cells and all that. So that was chemotherapy. And that's where I'm at now. I'm going through chemotherapy. Next up is surgery, and I'm trying not to think that far. Every time I mention it, my husband's like, we don't have to think about that, which I'm so grateful for. So next up, surgery. I want to see if it's a lumpectomy, mastectomy, double mastectomy, whatever. See if there's radiation, and then tamoxifen for 5 years. That's where I'm at. How I'm holding up. I want a break from cancer land. Other people get a break from cancer land, and I don't. That's how I feel right now. Every day is cancer, 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 cancer. And I'm so tired. I don't feel good. I keep thinking, when will I truly feel good again? That's where I'm at. But I will beat this cancer. I will kick its booty. Just like my friend who's having her radiation treatments today, she's going to kick cancer booty. My husband is kicking cancer booty. He has thyroid cancer. He's kicking it. Got rid of his thyroid. Grew back. Another surgery. Grew back. Not the thyroid, the cancer, by the way. And then he's doing this experimental treatment, and it is slowly making him smaller, cutting off blood supply, so he's kicking cancer booty. And you will kick cancer booty too if you're going through this. But I just want to put my story out there. And feel free to throw yours out there. Respond to me. What was your journey like so far? And I'll keep you updated on my journey. And it's a journey of ups and downs, and it's hard, but I want to make it. And that's the whole story for those who haven't heard it from my mouth yet. I probably omitted certain details because I didn't remember them, or I remember them later. So hopefully the story made sense, and hopefully it'll tell you, what somebody goes through. I can tell you from the moment they told me I needed that biopsy, cancer, cancer, cancer. For someone going through this, it's always there. You're on Cancer Island. If you're not them, you get to leave Cancer Island. Think about it. They're there all the time. And it's hard. So be understanding if they cry. Be understanding if they're mad one day. Be understanding when they look at you and they're going through chemo and they're on their like 3rd cycle, 2nd cycle, I don't care what cycle, and they say, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Because then they need you to say, you can do it. Yes, you're kicking cancer's butt. You can do it. You're doing beautifully. Just a little ways. I was on Facebook this morning, as I often am now, because I'm not working, because chemo's kicking my butt. But there was this picture, and it was of a butterfly. And it says, the caterpillar thought she was dying, crawled up into her cocoon, and then she turned into a butterfly. So just when you think it's all over, that's my inspiration for today. Sometimes I feel like I don't know what the future holds, and my world's changed forever and ever and ever. And I'm just on Cancer Island in my cocoon, waiting, you know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I love the day I turn into a butterfly. So that's my inspiration for today. And I hope this blog helps somebody. That is all for now. I fight like a woman.